Great. I apologize for one of the slides already because they come, one of them is going to pop a little punchy, but then I'll read exactly what it says. Put this here for a second. Just to give you a little more insight of who I am. If you think about St. Augustine High School, a lot of people probably don't even know that I was a band director because I don't even put myself out there like that. For me, it's always will be about the young men that perform in this program. The legacy that I'm about to speak upon is not my legacy. I haven't built that legacy yet. The legacy I'm about to speak upon is a legacy of the Marching 100 and a legacy of Harrell Hamilton, who actually founded St. Augustine High School Marching 100 in 1952. 5 steps. I'm going to preach upon this, but I'm sitting amongst a lot of greats that has already established a legacy. I'm going to explain something about a legacy. A legacy, you can develop two. You can develop your own legacy, or you can develop a program legacy. You have somebody that follows you. Once you develop your program legacy, then your legacy lives on throughout that program. But your legacy is going to follow you wherever you go. It's happening a lot, especially in New Orleans. Isn't that right, Mr. Rawlins? Yeah, pay attention. I love it though. He's like a prime example. He's following him wherever he goes. He was at Reed, he was at Carlton, he's at Landry Walker now. You know, but his legacy is following him wherever he goes because he's producing. 5 steps to building a legacy and maintaining a fan legacy. Where's the intro? All right. Make it count. You have to know what matters. I'm going to give you the 5 points. You have to know what matters. You got to get off the front line and explain that. Simplify everything, originality, and then transcend your program to that next level. And that's the part that was one step. I'm going to read those out to you. First one is students. Next one is give them an option. Scholarships, life lessons, parenting away from home. All of these things are different caps, and most of us have probably seen this diagram before. All of these are things that we do as band directors in terms of home away from home for our young men. If your program requires you to do a lot of practicing, I know we practice a lot. The kids are probably at the school more than they are at their home. 11 months out of the 12 months, we're at practice. June is the only time I give them off. So you have to realize what matters to the kids, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. It's not the parents, it's not the administration, it's not the alumni, it's none of that. It's the kids. Those young men and women that come to you because there's something that they're trying to achieve, and they may not even know what it is, but there's something that's missing in their life. I don't go to anything trying to be ambitious about something if I have no interest in it at all. So just them walking in the door, there's an interest of music within them, and it's us that has to bring that up. We got to give them an option. Give them an option. What I mean by giving an option is basically this: when they leave away from college, when they leave away from high school, they got to have something or several different things that you're going to instill in them, whereas they're going to decide whether I'm going to go to school for music, whether I'm going to go take an academic scholarship, whether we are going to go to like a regular school of music and really excel, whatever the case may be. But it's up to us to give them those options. A lot of the times the kids don't even realize the type of options that they may have. Another major option, we talk about colleges a lot, and that's fine, you know, because that's exactly what we want our kids. We want our kids to excel no matter what they do. You know, but I have the military guy, when the military, I think it was the Army, that came and spoke to our kids because they had no idea that they could actually go into the military and play music. These things have to be presented to the kids. You know, because all these kids may not be academically sound where they're going to achieve even on a college level. But if they at least know that, yeah, we do have the military. I'm excelling my home, but I don't necessarily excel academically. I struggle academically. That's fine. You know, you want to excel on all levels, but give them that option. If they don't know anything about it, because I can tell you, a lot of my kids was like, really? Yes. Because some of our kids need the discipline. Even coming out of high school, they still haven't gotten that discipline to do everything that they're supposed to do in terms of academics. And some of them might need that extra discipline push. Military will give them that, and they give them some money to go to school. They have to know these options. Scholarships. That is the #1 selling point that I have when I give to my parents, when I speak to my parents about their child becoming a member of St. Augustine High School Marching 100. This is what your child can possibly do. We have a couple of schools out there now that's just offering scholarships simply because you are a musician or you play an instrument. One thing I can definitely say for sure, of the past 3 years, every senior was offered at least 3 scholarships. Whether they took it or not, whether it was in music, fine. Some of them choose academics. If you know anything about St. Augustine High School, I got a bunch of brainiacs over there. They nervous. But the bottom line is that they may have an academic scholarship and they have the band scholarship. It's our job to try to make sure that we're going to try to alleviate some of that money, you know, some of that stress off a parent when it's time to go off to college. The school that I'm at now, if you don't know anything about it, is a tuition-based school, $10,000 a year. Yeah, that much. It's still a drop in the bucket when you're going off to a college. You know, so we have to make sure that we are offering, or at least presenting these kids with an opportunity to get scholarships from these different universities. Because they're out there and they're pushing these scholarships. They're pushing. We've had I'm pretty sure Will contested as a Landry Walker. We probably had about a good 7 to 10 different colleges just coming down and auditioning. So make sure our kids are aware of those type of things. Life lessons, this is where the parents will come in at. In this day and age, it's a shame to say, and I'm sorry to say it, but it is what it is. We have a lot of single parents and you become that secondary parent. You know, it's a very unfortunate situation, but sometimes we don't know what's going on in these kids' minds. We don't know what's going on in their personal life. We don't know what's going on. And the thing about it is that we try to hold these kids accountable for things that we can't even handle at certain times. You know, and I have to fight, I'm pretty sure you all do the same thing. We have to fight with the administration all the time, especially at St. Aug, because they're so quick to judge the kid, or they might want to put the kid out, whatever the case may be. But guess what? We don't know what that kid is going through. I know I react towards certain things in certain ways. Whereas my natural reaction is to rebel, or I'm going to do this. But that's a natural reaction of a human. That's what we do. So what do we expect our kid to do who does not know how to react towards certain situations? Parenting away from home, that's what I just covered basically. You have to be that parent. I get used to this eventually. Get off the front line. The staff. What I mean by get off the front line is this. You as a band director, you are the top one. You cannot do it all yourself. You can be pretty sufficient in every area, where it's going to be arranging, where it's going to be field shows, where it's going to be symphonic band, jazz band. You can be sufficient in all of those different areas. But actually, you got to get yourself a legitimate staff. And that legitimate staff, what you probably want to do is you probably want to make sure that this person is almost an expert in field shows. This person is almost an expert in arranging. or this person is an expert in different areas that you want to excel in. Because at some point in time, you can't do it all yourself. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because of this particular type of slideshow that I'm trying to present to you. You are much bigger than what you're trying to do with this band. You have to think of this band as a business. You can't think of the band as a band. You literally have to think of this as you are conducting a business. There's a lot of different colleges that we look at out there, and somebody actually mentioned Southern University and Jackson State as being two juggernauts of bands, but they figured out how to market their band. That's basically what it is. You're marketing your product. Surround yourself with skillful people. Simplify everything. When you're starting out, you want to pace yourself. If you try to achieve all of your goals within, I don't know, a time frame of a year, it would never happen. Especially considering that we have so many people that got up here and actually spoke upon the fact that we are starting off with such young kids on instruments, 9th graders, that has never touched an instrument before. 8th graders, well I have 8 through 12. And this is my routine every year. Much like Wills. We spoke upon this. Routine every year. I get so many kids in. If I get 25 kids in, maybe 3 or 4 may actually have some type of musical background. That other 20 to 19 or so, we are literally recruiting out of the school to teach from scratch. So you cannot take those kids and really teach them the way you want to. Because if your schedule is anything like our schedule, it takes off immediately. Immediately. So, this off subject, if you haven't already started pestering your administration about band classes, legitimate band classes, where you're not going to have football players and you're not going to have basketball players. It's going to be legitimate band classes you might want to start doing. It took me 3 years to get it. After pestering and pestering and pestering. But that's the only way these kids are going to learn at the pace that you need them to learn at, because you cannot do it in the realm of a band practice or a band rehearsal. Pick your areas that you would like to strive in and build from those areas. We can't strive in everything at one time. You have to start building up from scratch, so you need to find out exactly what you want to present to the public. What do you want to excel at? And what do you want the public to see you as, and what your program as? We love field shows. It's not something that I started, it's something that Mr. Hampton started, so we don't even have the option. If we go to a football game, we have to go on the field from day one. Now, I wouldn't change it to any other way. So, if I'm thinking about St. Augustine High School and their brand, there's 2 things that I know have to happen. Technically, well, 3. 1, you have to be disciplined. 2, you have to know how to do a field show. 3, you have to sound good. These are 3 areas that we have to excel in. So you have to figure out exactly what you want to present and what you want to be known as in terms of your program. And then you start building up from there, and then of course you start to add on as you build your program. Kids get frustrated fast. We all know that. If those kids are not doing something on those instruments within a day, they're probably going to get frustrated. I don't care if it's just a sour note or a sound out of the home. So the problem is that how do you go about teaching a kid anything when you are actually trying to establish your program to perform? That's a huge problem. Especially considering that we're talking about kids that you are bringing in and you're telling them this is a trumpet mouthpiece, this is a trumpet. Much like most of us, well, I'm just gonna say most of us, let's just say most of us, because I'm looking at the age group right now, and it's probably most of us. By show of hands, who started on a recorder? Literally, a recorder. Not that many, actually. But before we even got an instrument in our hand, that recorder was how we learned how to read music. Before we did anything else, we was already reading rhythms. And now these kids don't even seem to have that type of luxury because of the type of scheduling that we actually have. I want to learn, but I don't want to practice. That's the typical mind frame of these kids right now. We already talked about that with the cell phones, your PlayStations, your social media, your Xbox. Everybody wants to be on some type of activity, obviously, because we have a lot of kids in our different programs. But how many kids actually want to practice? These kids don't want to practice. We know they don't want to practice. We have to figure out now how to make it fun. I'm glad you pointed out the different websites because I didn't even know anything about it. So now I can start utilizing some of those websites, and it might even become fun for them because the kids do like competition. So they can actually sit up there and compete against their own people in their sections, to the point where I got this score, what do you get? Because I kind of push competition amongst the program. It works. Originality. What is going to differ your program from everyone else? Certain things in terms of a marching band is going to be pretty standard. We all have to march. We all have to learn the music. Hopefully we're teaching marches. And of course, your music. So, what is going to be that niche that's going to make somebody call you opposed to calling someone else for a gig? What is going to be that niche that's going to say I'm going to pay this program, I don't know, $5,000 for a gig opposed to paying you $2,000 for a gig? In other words, there's a lot of things that you can actually think about and be original. You have to model your band around you, take your own personality, and you put it into your program. You know, we've seen that done quite a few times, and it actually worked. And sometimes, because we have so many different personalities, you wide with the different ones of programs in terms of how they look, in terms of how they sound. You know, I'm not going to sit up there and I'm not going to sit up there and I use Southern University, because we have a lot of Southern University graduates in here. But I'm not going to go and try to get a Southern University look like when I can get Southern University. I may have to pay extra, but guess what? They're worth it. I'm not going to go and get a Jackson State lookalike when I can get Jackson State. You have to find out what your program is going to look like when they're going down the street, when they're coming across the field, where people are going to look at that particular program and they can almost close their eyes and they can just listen to you and say, that's such and such. Oh, yeah, I know that sound. We have to be different. We have to be original. We have to figure out a way to separate ourselves from everybody else. Transcend to the next level. Brand, not band. When we're talking about a brand, we're talking about something that's going to stick in people's minds, even when they're not even thinking about band. You have to figure out exactly how many people actually know a commercial by Manning. Yeah, that dumb commercial. Right. Don't even think they run that commercial anymore. But I still remember by Manning. And there's a lot of different commercials that's out there because they put it in your brain and they tap it into your brain so much to the point that you actually start to think about it or remember it at certain points in time. This is something I actually learned at LSU when I was taking up courses at LSU, which I never really realized until I took this course. And it became so much common sense when I thought about it. I was like, I just never noticed. They're going to run certain commercials at certain times of the day. Or they're going to run certain commercials doing certain programs where the people who are looking at those programs are actually going to be more interested in those products. It's the same thing when it comes down to a bag, which leads me to the next one, out of sight, out of mind. If you are a Facebook follower of mine, you might get a little annoyed at the amount of stuff that I actually post about St. Augustine High School, March 100. Am I proud of the program? Am I proud of the legacy? Of course, but I'm not doing that because of that. I'm doing that because I know if people see it, they're going to remember it. If you're a Facebook friend of mine, you had a birthday, you probably got a March 100 happy birthday. I sent them out. I sent them out. Yours will pop up the birthday. My bad, I'm gonna sing one just off you. I'm just gonna sing one. Easter. I don't care what holiday it is. If you're scrolling my page, you're probably gonna see Happy Easter for the March 100. Merry Christmas for the March 100. Because I'm treating it as a brand and I want people to always have St. Augustine High School March 100 on their mind, whether we are performing or not. So that way, when no matter who they're asking in the city, no matter who they're asking in the city, at this point, we need a band to do a certain gig. If March 100 is always on your mind, the first thing will come to your mind is March 100. Do they have a lot of other programs within the city that can do gigs? Of course, we got Andrew Walker, thank you, Will, for the competition. Yeah, I know.
I shall remain there too.
Yeah, I know.
I'll be there, President.
We have CAR, we have Ended CAR, of course. You know, we have a lot of good programs that's actually striving in New Orleans. But that's not the point. The point is that when you ask an individual, what band would you recommend for me to use for my convention or whatever, and if you constantly seeing Marching 100 symbol, the first thing that's gonna come in your mind is the Marching 100. We have to be strategic on everything that we do in terms of presenting things to people and the perception that we want to send out about our program. When I say our program, I'm talking about in general. Don't think of your program as just being a band, whereas all you're doing is going out and performing a couple of football games and a couple of basketball games and what have you. No, your program is much bigger than that. And in a lot of cases, it's the best thing that's probably going on at some of y'all schools right now. So all eyes on the brand. All eyes on the brand. Again, I'm not going to take credit for the brand of the Marching 100. I'm not going to take credit for the legacy of the Marching 100. I'm not going to take credit for any of that. Because when you asked, when Mr. Javon Paulin asked how many people heard of the Marching 100, you raised your hand. You would have raised your hand whether I was the band director or not, because it hasn't been around that long. It has been in existence that long. So all I'm doing is trying to sustain, because I have so much respect for Mr. Evan Harrell Hampton, I'm just trying to sustain his legacy. I have yet to even begin, as far as I'm concerned, my legacy. And to be perfectly honest, if I'm going to be truthful about it, I'll probably never achieve it at St. Augustine High School. And the reason why is because I just love that man that much to the point that his face is what you should see when you see St. Augustine High School Marching 100. His legacy is not what I want. If I'm going to do a legacy, it's going to be one of my own, it's going to be somewhere else. The Marching 100 legacy belongs to St. Augustine High School and Mr. Evan Harrell Hampton. That's true for me. I think that's that slide. So, any questions? Yeah.
You had a lot of good things you can do to enhance your school's branding, but what are like your top 3 bad things to do that would like really bring your image down?
One is overkill, of course. In other words, too much of anything is bad. So even constantly pushing out a whole bunch of things, sometimes some people just get tired of seeing it. It's so funny that you actually brought that up because we had a kid, one of my drum majors. who graduated this year, and his mom was so proud, extremely proud, and I'm proud for him, and I'm proud for her. And she was posting pictures left and right, left and right, left and right. So even some, you know, it got to the point that some of the people actually started criticizing. How you gonna criticize a parent that's actually excited about their child graduating and all of his accomplishments? But they consider it an overkill. It's not an overkill at that point. You know, that's just a parent being excited. But it could be an overkill in terms of a brand. Let's think about your Beyonce brands, your Michael Jackson brands, all of those different people, or your Prince brands. Come out with an album back then. Let's talk about back then. Come out with an album. Prince may disappear for almost 10 years. Then all of a sudden he come back out with another. Of course, we don't have that luxury of disappearing that long. But it could be an overkill. That's one of the downfalls of that. To me, visual is a real bad thing. People are going to judge you before you even pick up your homes. Just by the time you got off the bus, just how your uniform is being worn, you are already being judged. You know, and the thing about it is, let's think about the people who actually have money. I'm talking about the people who can actually come out and say, you know what, I love your performance, I love your band, I want to donate, how can I help? I got $50,000 for whatever you need. Guess what? The people have to feel comfortable with you and your program. So, as much as we like to sit up there and let our kids express themselves when they're in them uniforms, no, you represent that program. You don't represent yourself, you represent that program. So any pants that's sagging, not a good look. Let's think about all the things in terms of business now. Visible tattoos, not a good look. Earrings in the ear, not a good look. These are things that makes people with money feel uncomfortable. Because guess what? When they book your band, they have to make sure that whatever they're booking your band for, if it's some type of a convention, they have to make sure that whatever they're booking it for, no fights are going to break out. Nothing is going to happen that's going to embarrass them in front of their clients. So that is a bad thing. That's something that we look at. If you have anything on you that's not part of that uniform, you make them take it off. I don't care if it's a watch. It's not part of the uniform. You know, you say top 3, huh?
Yes, sir.
That's a bad thing. I'll probably have to say if I already crossed how you look, it has to be how you sound. It has to be how you sound. You know, the thing about it is that you can't just throw anything out there and expect people to like it. Me and this guy had a debate, never an argument. We had a debate one time, and the debate was about the louder we are, the better we are, and that killed me. That absolutely killed me. It was like driving a stake down my back. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, first of all, we already know, especially me, growing up in New Orleans, you know, it goes down, you know, we know that. But the thing about it is that we still raising musicians. In other words, I need you to sound powerful but clean. No, I didn't say loud. I need you to sound powerful but clean. And just like the gentleman spoke of before, we go from parade season trying to blow out everybody in front of us, and then we go straight to concert season and yet playing stuff like Beethoven. So the way you sound is another thing. Let's think about this. You get off the bus, you're looking good. I mean, you're looking fabulous. Everything is on point, from top to bottom to uniforms. Everybody's in line, everybody's walking. You get into your whatever formation you're going to get into, and then you pick up the instruments, and the sound is not right. You have to know your area in terms of where your band is at. Some people are not built for sound or power. If you have to ask anybody right now, well, they did the unofficial voting thing after Mardi Gras season. But the best sounding band, according to some of the band is in New Orleans, and people is about 30 people deep. Helen Cox, he called it. Because that man stood in his lane. He knew exactly what he wanted his band to sound like. They're not overblowing, they're just filling up the horns, and they articulate every note. So now what he's doing is, he's building himself a reputation to the point that kids may want to go to his program. Helen Cox has never been known for a band program, to be perfectly honest. But now he's building one, because he's staying in his lane, he's building his legacy, and he knows exactly what he needs to do for that particular program to strive. You don't have 120 like we have, or 120 like Landry Walker. He has 30, maybe. Sounds beautiful. Any other questions? Yes.
Your man is very big. What's one thing that you do on a yearly basis to make sure the communication stays up with the parents?
I actually use two methods of communicating with my parents. I use this Remind program. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I use a Remind program. Remind is actually an app that you can download to your phone, and you can send out messages. The good thing about it is they can receive it on their phone, but there's no communicating back. That's a good thing. So in other words, if I send you something, if I send a group something, you can't communicate back, whereas now we have a conversation going and everybody's phone is constantly going off. Yeah, that's annoying. So it's called Remind, and of course I'm still old school with the, well, let's say old school, with the emails. I still send out the emails. You know, so emails and the Remind program are the two main programs that I use for communication. I make every band member, that's every one of them now, with a cell phone. I make them register to the Remind me. That eliminates you telling them you didn't know. You know, because now I'm sending, and I actually have two set up, one for the parent, one for the band members. Most of the communication that goes out goes to both of them, but some things I may just want the parents to know, or some things I just may want the band to know. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You mentioned hiring people that had talent or in a special area. I work at 3 schools. I'm the only musician in the district. I'm a voice major. What do you do when they won't hire anyone?
Believe it or not, I actually know quite a few people, and one of the guys is actually sitting by you. I'm not gonna call his name, but him and I just had that exact same discussion, and he's in the same situation. You know, whereas it's just him. You know, 3 different schools.
Elementary, middle school, and
Dang, bless you. Yeah, bless you for real. You know, that's to be perfectly honest, I don't even think I have an answer for that one. Yeah, I don't even think. At some point in time, though, another conversation that we just had in there. How strong is your parental following? Not good? If you can get 10 of them, you'll be all right. About 2 or 3, make their voice strong. In other words, that one thing that we do, that I figured out, at least with some of the schools, is that they're very, I don't want to say scared, but let's just say concerned about parental involvement. Let's say that. You know, so if you can get a few of them just to say speak on your behalf, or you bring them in there with you so they can understand, or at least start to understand the importance of you having help. You know, especially with 3. You know, I wouldn't be able to do it with 1. I've been put all the help on.
they want to give me a choir.
They're going to give you a choir. What district you in, so I can know? Never to apply.
East Carroll Parish.
Wow. Yes.
If I can give you a suggestion, a recommendation, the more kids you get involved in the program or wanting to be, even if they can't actually be in the program, then you can go to them and yell maybe to stand on by saying this is why I can help, because like 100 kids don't want to be in band, but I can't schedule them. But in order to get scheduled, all you need, like I tried to schedule them and I thought it was going to work in my benefit, and it backfired. when I was at Plymouth Elementary, it backfired because they said, you did it this year, why didn't you do it every year? But if you get them to sign up without actually putting them in the class, then you can give it. You can put up 3 or 4 classes here, 3 or 4 classes here. I can't do 3 or 4 classes because my schedule is already full. You see? And you give them the numbers without actually putting them in the class. You don't want the classes yet. You never want the classes, you want the kids to want to be a part of the program. And then when the parents call, if you got 2 parents, they can call twice, that's 4 parents. If 4 parents call the school board office, they're freaking out. They're scared parents.
Yeah. That's your question. You're teaching band classes?
Yes, sir.
You're a voice major?
Yes.
Do you play an instrument?
I played drums in high school.
So you've never played clarinet, trumpet, baritone, tuba?
Mr. Griffin and all those, get some stuff, and that's it.
You in the wrong job.
My band is doing pretty good. I taught myself how to play. Learn those
Any more questions? Yes.
Let me just say this. Who had that question? When you don't have help, what type of students do you have in your program? Are they students that display leadership?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what my strong suggestion is to you is if you can't hire adult help, you'll be amazed at what your students can do.
Already happening. I can leave my class and my class will go as if they're running the class, they can teach.
Right. So there you go. So if you right, and then what you do is that you train them in the image in which you want them to grow your program.
That's all it's working right now.
Right. So that's my suggestion. If you look around, you don't have any help, you don't have any adults, rely on your students if you have that type of culture in your programs.
Thank you.
I think in this situation too, is that I'm very familiar with the district he works in now. He's kind of the victim of his own success. And the reason I say that, he's done a phenomenal job with his education training background and results he got the program. I think this is because of the social and economic status over there. It's just the resources out there. And they just want, but they're just not ready to be committed. And believe me, they know you can step up. They know that, baby. You just gotta figure out some kind of way to just strongly justify that.
My whole drum section is 4th and 6th grade.
Any more questions?
But I'm saying, let's just